Hello everyone. I would like to very quickly talk about how my phone only has 17%, and I'm going to start telling the numbers that come to my phone percentage, while I'm making this talk. I find them to be significant. So this one's 17, the number for this episode. Now, what I would like to talk about very quickly is how we can use the concept of temperature in understanding fluctuations in our state of being. And so we see at certain temperatures, certain substances are behaving differently. And so once you see, for example, very scientifically actually, and beautifully, that once you break open something, you think you have an understanding of it, but at the same time you're at a holistic point of existence. So in a sense, what I'm trying to say is that at certain temperatures we see different particles or chemicals acting differently. And so we have a certain linear understanding of this, but in a sense we can take the non-linear and look at the poet's mind, who sees that this temperature that we are in is similar to how we find our intentions to be non-physical. And so there's a difference. There's a difference in having temperature, and having an understanding that is not being affected by its environment, To clear this out very quickly, there is a view that which once looked at gives you a total understanding of different states of your own being. And what that means is that you are always learning from life, even when you're being deceived. And so if you think your illusion, your reality is deceptive, that you're not sure what is at the core of the smallest particle, and so you're looking at existence like this, you have to take an immediate approach to the reality range you want to utilize in exploring your consciousness. So we can have someone explore their consciousness on a battlefield where everyone's dying, and we can have someone exploring their consciousness sitting, on the grass or by the beach. So the difference is that they're both moments of experience. They're both lives. There's human life involved in both. What we see is that the tools of understanding are different. In other words, the mountain is different. When we calm ourselves, we're in a sense giving ourselves an allowance to see what we are, and it doesn't mean you have to always be calm. Sometimes when you give to yourself this gift of self-awareness, very calmly, after a period of your own practical approach to how you can get yourself working in more efficient ways and more aware ways, you see that life does not care how you get up the mountain. But once you are there, you shall see you are the mountain. And that is profound. That is very profound. To see that every rubble that made you worry is you is profound. To see that man is not alone because it is man plus existence. And so when man looks at its existence, its remembrance increases. This is a general rule for all those people, and I am saying this as a being. I am not saying this as a human being, because the human being is too limited to talk to you. If I was to talk to you as a human being, I would have stopped talking before I would have recorded anything. I am talking to you as a being, and so I am telling you I am being aware of this being from the human form. However, as the human form looks at its being, the core of existence, its essence, is vibrantly present in all things. So I cannot say you have less life than me. You know, we're both self-awareness, but we're different intensities and sensitivities to how life is made. What we want is not just a completely simple understanding or not just a completely complex understanding. If you think you only want one of these two, you can't have it in this state of being. In the reality that we are, our consciousness can be, can hold the beauty of the golden ratio, let's say, or the Fibonacci sequence, or in a sense, let us even say, a curve, like a sine curve. We are constantly fluctuating. So we cannot get a gift of good understanding without an ability to confront a bad understanding. So what happens is, this is life's way of working, guys. This is Mr. Within's, I guess, extraction of meaning of what this movement in life is. And this movement of life, which I'm telling you, is the moment when one is given a great gift. When you are given a great gift, when you're given heaven in a box, once you get that heaven, you see that after you are so high up in the clouds, you're looking at the lowest point. You're looking at the center of the earth. You're looking at what man perceived to be as hell. So once you are given the greatest blessing, it is your existential task to confront the worst and to be able to say that the good still stands, you know? And similarly, we even find, like, it's a life pattern, guys. It's this golden ratio life pattern where a kid is born and the kid is born in an extremely harsh environment. But suddenly sees this harshness, makes him search, for example, for a calmness, you know, search for the opposite of harshness, to seek the other side, to bring equilibrium. So as the being seeks to bring equilibrium, we see the kid had a chaotic childhood, but suddenly had a very normal period of life to have, again, a chaotic end. Because you cannot go through a life experience and not expect it to confront it as a memory later on. We have these memories, we have experiences. I remember the first time I touched the fruit, you know, to the last time I touched it before this talk. And so our memory we need to look at the nature of memory to see how the nature of the human mind is working, because there's nothing else. We can't remember anything else. So, Mr. Within's suggestion, in a sense, would be to see that the mafia leader eventually, after killing so many people, chooses the delicate love of, let's say, a girl he finds or something, the mafioso. We see this, for example, that is attractive to us. What is attraction is your cycles of change and your ability to see a similarity of your own cycles of change within the external reality, which is the other person. But the communication is actually more. Because you see, when two human beings communicate, they are co-creating. And co-creation is the biggest lesson you need to teach human beings, co-creation. Co-creation means that you are adding a new self to continue on. You are constantly your own torchbearer. So what is memory is, in essence, a very large recollection, and it's not linear. Man says it's linear after studying it. Linearization is a fabrication, just like imagination. So what we see is actually existence is the ability of us as a very silent being, as a very omniscience, very quiet omniscience, observing the multitude and the multiple levels of our own dimensionality, of how we can conceive space and time. And so if a fruit can hold an insect in it, conceiving that form of experience of space and time, so I am held in a greater fruit. And so I might find some similarity, and if I was on the bus stop, I could probably talk to James in the giant peach, you know, talk to that guy and see, like, you know, either what psychedelics he was taking, or, you know, why he went through that phase of experience. But our realities are very, in a sense, polite to our own understanding. We see the passage of life in many ways, and You appreciate your construction usually based on how you have seen other beings appreciate construction. And the way you appreciate destruction is actually based on the other ways you've seen other beings appreciate destruction. So what that means is, guys, throughout the talks that I give, I'm a very sensitive speaker existentially, so I can give frames that are moving too fast. So in a sense, what I'm saying is that the reason we can appreciate, you see, you don't handle greater, like the way you're observing humanity was never, the human being was never intended to be seen by only human eyes. What that means is that the senses of other you create, you as consciousness allow to give reality to. And so there's sensitivities in reality. And it's very human, because our dimensions and our appreciation of space and time is based on human understanding. And we have a human understanding which is our own eyes, and we have a human understanding which is what we have read or absorbed as knowledge from another some source, So the information that originates you is sourceless because you cannot give it a source. What that means is that your self-awareness ignites only when the wood is burning. So when the wood is burning, there is no longer wood, it's heat. When your truth heats up, no sense of self can stand in that beautiful fire of enlightenment. You see, it is when existence touches you that you remember. Now, back to the idea of temperature, because sometimes I love talking about these concepts because it's not really talk about it, it's just show, And when I try to explain a landscape I'm seeing, I am then being detached. So if you hear me talking to you in a way where you feel you're floating alongside the wind of existence with me, that means that we are able to observe the movement of ideas, building realities which we're involved in, but at the same time you can't. So the biggest, I see at first the beginning sage being one who is trying to see where his eyes lead. And so the rabbit hole is actually an understanding and a search for where your consciousness originates. And maybe the person who wrote Alice, I don't know, the person who wrote Alice in the Wonderland knew that she was bringing an idea that could save man. So guys, it is not mankind now that saves man. It is the ideas of man that save man. What that means is that your idea is one where, based on your authenticity, you will bring out the greatest information. The information that gives man wings, is not just angelic and bright and loving and joyous imagery. It is learning from direct experience, and that means get out of the classroom which you're bored in and run into the forest where the lion of truth is about to jump at your face. That is a more exciting lifetime. It is up to you to create realities in which you can cultivate greater authentic excitement for yourself. And I am saying this, not as someone who's teaching anything. The arrogance of the teacher is too limited. There is never just a teacher. There is never just a student. We are multiple archetypes and experiences of passage through these structures that man has recognized well. So in a sense, when we look at temperature, you see the state of being of the substance, in a sense, it affects differently. Now, is it okay to say just because your state of being has changed, just because your awareness has changed, that's it? Is that it? Is there really enlightenment in an infinitely expanding universe? And you see, there is light, and before there is someone enlightenment, we know there is light. So we must allow ourselves to, in a sense, become that child who saw his parents to be all life. And once life is inspiring you to live, then your work will eventually go towards a great contribution of life. What that means is you don't have to go through a certain career type life to just become great. Greatness can be Mother Teresa's beautifully and, infinitely caring hand, caressing the forehead of a society that is behind in their understanding of existential appreciation. We are human beings, we are beings. We as beings are being born in this physicality. And we must appreciate it. We must appreciate existence. It's enough is enough. To wake up as existence means look at what is alive. Do not use a programmed system. Just look and see that your senses are sensing. Your heart is beating. And so as a star, the shape of our own pupil looks at us, we see the warmth of the sun does not care about distance. It does not care about illusion. The truth cuts the illusion. The lion's roar wakes up those who wanted to attack, to their own attacking. Because you can never attack someone without hitting yourself. Agitation is not something that needs to be present. You need to look at a tree and you see, okay, what's calmer than this self-help guru that is teaching me how to be, calm and peaceful, Sometimes you just see that, okay, it's a human being, so let me see what's calmer than a human being. And it's usually plant life, animal life too. But you see, trees have a silence where it's like they are grounded in their knowing. Because they are so purely rooted out of Gaia, they are the planet's fingers. And if you remember that ET moment, touching a tree is in a sense touching the planet. Trust me, you think you want to search extraterrestrials. People think aliens are cool. You have not even explored the existential beauty in our own planet. In a sense, we need people to communicate their experiences. You need to see higher dimensional experiences and higher dimensional reality. For now, is being fed to man through a very dualistic language level. So we need to expand man's language. We need to give man greater symbols, much more imagery. Because once he has more imagery, he has a greater ability to co-create in his higher sense of mind. And that is always a beautiful journey. Life is always a journey, What can your teacher say at school? Your teacher can teach you so many concepts, actually. Teachers are in a sense great, but once even that teacher goes home, who teaches that teacher? And you see, that teacher is now observing life more to teach you something which you have not seen. So let life be your teaching, and you see all men are on the same journey. And so perhaps the person who was very arrogantly telling you, I'm more educated than you, I'm better than you, I'm greater than you, was in a sense telling himself what he really wanted to hear others tell him. And when someone brags, when someone tries to force an image of themselves that is not authentically seen by people, they can see it. The beauty about life and man is that man can lie. Man can lie. Oh, man can lie. Man, the human being, can lie to others, to himself, to everything he can conceive. But existence can never lie to itself. Life cannot lie to itself. The universe cannot lie to itself. It is present. So the illusion is nature's way of introducing us into a new body of being. To explore your limitless qualities requires an instant remembrance of who you are, and no one can give you that other than your own voice. So you must see what lies you are keeping that are hiding your authenticity, your individuality, which is seen by your collectivity. The collective is not an audience. You do not want a fan base. You want great moments of life. You know? And think about it in ways where your thinking is only a statement of advice. So in other words, a lot of people, and people may think this is egotistical, but if you have a sense that you are in a power position in this life, for example, you're a leader, you're a boss, you're a CEO, you're whatever, right? You're a president, you're a politician. You need to keep the idea that the human being requires communication from other human beings to survive. And to not just survive, actually. Survival is a word that's probably going to be stopped using, because survival implies the limitations of an animal's urge to, you know, survive. Now, we can see that the ideas that come to us at times are as alive as we are in regards to how we are aware of them. What you become aware of is innately a source of truth for you. What that means is that if someone never, you know, picked up a pen to write something, once they do it, it's as if their awareness to something has become a source of truth for them, you know? Truth is seen for man to be beyond man, but when we see that once the human consciousness, what we think at first is the human consciousness begins to, in a sense, in its own movement, inner movement, give off, or in a sense, emanate or emit a sense of being. So think of reality as the light beam that allowed you to see where all light has been. And so even though our conception of light is not one that, you know, there are many different types of light, but at the same time, holistically they can all be seen together, you know, as well. We see that even the sun deserves to speak. Much blessings and namaste.